Tracy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you muted me for some reason.
Oh, I didn't. I'm playing on my own.
How you doing, Madam?
Hi, I'm good. Hey, why am I on here twice? Justin,
I don't know.
you logged in under mine, sweetie.
Okay,
That's what happened.
I was having trouble with mine yesterday, so I don't want to give.
I know. I'm telling you, you know what? I'm wondering if somehow the thing's unplugged underneath it. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, because for the first part of the entire meeting, all we could see was your face. We
Oh.
couldn't see any of the people in the meeting or anything.
Oh, okay.
And then toward the end of the meeting, the sound went out.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Actually, Counselor Martin, for this meeting, I don't know if you're gonna have a timer or not, because it's a meeting between you and the library board. Probably only if it's residents that want to speak would be the timer, but your presentation, I'm not sure how you want to work that. You just have to let Justin know.
Okay,
Oh, and Justin, I'm also going to record on my computer here, because for some reason, I think it's that computer in the office. It seems like it's not
Outdated.
recording right.
Not updated.
Yeah, so I'm recording here. I already started the recording as well. We'll do recordings on both computers and see how it's going to work.
Okay.
There's something going on. I don't know. I noticed that when we were uploading the recording from yesterday. Something's just not, I don't know, sweetie. That's all right. It's better to record twice. Me and Victoria used to do that just in case.
yeah, give me 1 second.
Let me go.
Check it, and so we'll get started, but I want to get started where everybody's here. So we don't have to go over this once or another time. See if he's coming down, please. All right, thank you. What time you got, Mr. Clerk?
You got 6:33.
Oh, 6:30.
Justin, could I suggest that you please just send around a piece of paper? Everybody that's there, have them sign in, because it's a little bit muddled when we do the minutes and that for this, we have the exact names that's there, please.
You sit here.
Okay.
Thanks, sweetie. I'm gonna mute myself now.
Well, everybody who's going to speak, right?
Or just, yeah, whoever's there in support of the library and that as well. Yeah, and whoever speaks, I just want to make sure we have the names right.
All right, Mr. Cook, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, we're ready. See if East Cleveland Executive Committee meeting is now called to order. Nate, it's on you,
Okay,
Councilman
the
Martin.
meeting, the executive committee meeting is called to order is 6:34.
Yeah,
Today is April the 6th. Again, the time is 6:34. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Blahoviak,
Present.
Councilor Stevenson,
Present.
Councilor Gowdy,
Present.
Councilor Martin,
Present.
Councilor Smith.
Is he on Zoom?
No. No, he's not.
Okay.
So Councilor Smith is absent.
So he's the only one out. Okay.
Yeah.
Let the record reflect that he's absent. Okay, discussion of proposed development of land bank properties. I'm asking everyone to be very professional and show courtesy to each one of us, show courtesy to each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the library, Brother Rashid, and then after you, I'm going to hear from the mayor. Okay.
Mayor just passed this to me.
So, to pass out. It's two. Here, let me give it to you.
We'll do our
Give
best
us
to
a-
turn this torch.
Yes.
You can, good. It's good. Okay. You done with the signing sheet, Mr. Mason? Oh, okay.
While everybody is getting their papers, I
Nate.
just wanted to say that I was very concerned that I spoke with several people today who had expected to know about a meeting like this. And as I looked at the notification of the meeting at the Zoom link, there were only 17 people on that list. Whereas usually when we have notifications of meetings, there are
We
80 or
I
90.
can make them before they leave. but we-
And I'm
When
very
they start
concerned
discussion.
that people were not notified of this meeting.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we heard Mr. Mahovia. Let's get started, Mr. Rashid.
Yes, good evening, Council
Yes.
President Martin, Council Vice President Smith, Councilmember Gowdy, Councilmember Bohoviac, Councilmember Stevens, and the mayor. Good evening to the members of the public also that have joined us today, those in City Hall and those online. Thank you very much for allowing us to come before you again to discuss the growth and expansion plans of the East Cleveland Public Library. May I take a moment just to reintroduce you to
Yes,
the members
please.
of
Please.
our Board of Trustees? And I want them also to kind of like give you a little bit of their background in the city of East Cleveland.
That's fine with me. And,
I'll start with Mr. Gerald Severa.
okay.
How do you got the pen?
Mr. Severa, each person come up so we make sure we got you guys on our tape and video.
Good afternoon,
Yeah.
everyone.
that-
Hello, Mr. Severa, how are you, sir?
Mayor King,
All right.
Councilman. I've been a resident of East Cleveland since roughly 2009. I've been very active in affairs of East Cleveland. I've served as chairman of the East Cleveland Audit Committee. I've been a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee and been engaged in various other organizations. I'm also political voter service chair for the League of Women Voters of East Cleveland. And also, as I said, the vice president of the board and chairman of the finance committee.
Thank you, Mr. Severa. Who's next?
The next person is Ms. Carol Shaheen.
Okay,
She's secretary and chairwoman of the personnel committee.
and your name is Carol Shaheen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sister, go ahead.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Carol Shahid. I'm a retired teacher from the East Cleveland School System. I served 36 years at Shaw High School,
Oh, all
the
right.
best years of my life. After I retired, I want to do something with the city of East Cleveland because I love East Cleveland. And I decided to join the Board of Trustees. So I've been a member for about 4 years now. So that's about it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ms. Shaheen. Next.
Next would be Mr. Otis Mays.
Oh, all right. Nobody knows him.
I'm amazed. I've been a resident, as indicated, over 60 plus years. I was here when it was not too many of us around here. And so I am very concerned about the city. I love the city. And now it has come a little people of color, or whatever, and I hope that we can continue to improve the city and as it was when I first came here. Because this was someplace that Black did not come through, the city of East Cleveland, but around. And so I'm cognizant of that. And what we have to go through for us to live here in the city, to live even on Page Avenue. So I'm very cognizant of the city. I've seen it change. I've seen it in the May days and I've seen it in it not so many May days. So what have you.
Thank you, Mr. O'May.
And I'm very concerned about the property what brings us here tonight.
Thank you. Next.
Ms. Sheila Sharpley, member of the Personnel Committee and Library Services Committee.
Sheila Sharp,
Sharpley.
Sharpley. Hello, Ms. Sharpley.
Hello, how are you? My name is Sheila Sharpley. I'm a resident of East Cleveland. I've been here all of my life. My mother moved here in 1965. I'm alumni of Shaw High School, alumni of Shaw High Marching Band. This is my first year on the Board of Trustees, and I could not be more excited.
Thank you. Next,
We have two other members of our board who are not present today. Dr. Mary Ann Harris, she's chairwoman of the Library Services Committee, and Ms. Cassandra McDonald, she's a member of our Finance Committee and our legal advisor.
do you think they'll be coming later or?
They may be attending on Zoom, I'm not certain.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the director of the East Cleveland Public Library is Mr. Carlos Latimer, who's present in the back.
You want to bring him up?
He will be coming
Oh, okay.
in a few moments. And our financial officer of the East Cleveland Public Library is Mr. Ross Cockfield. I'm Zakir Rashid, the president of the Board of Trustees, long-term East Cleveland. I went to Roselle, Kirk, and Shaw, built a cable company here, and probably spent all my life walking the streets of this city. But I just want to take a moment to recognize the president of the Friends of the East Cleveland Public Library, Ms. Myrtle Mitchell. She's here in attendance today. And, we come before you today to provide supporting information regarding our request for the 5 parcels of land.
Before you get that one, is the Friends having the thing they have every year?
Yes,
Isn't it coming up?
yes, it is.
When is it?
It's April 23rd.
April 23rd. All right,
That will be our annual meeting. You will be getting an invitation shortly.
thank you. I've been going to it for years.
I know you have.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming.
Thank you. Continue.
Thank you, sir. We're prepared to answer all the questions that may give council, the mayor, and certainly the citizens of East Cleveland any concern about our request. But I took notes from your last agenda review meeting, and I'm requesting the time to address the statements that the mayor made in reference to the library's request for the land. If I may, can I have
I
that?
think it's okay with this body. What we want to do here is get all the facts out and truth. And then after all is said and done, this council really have to make a decision.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have, I'll give you 15, 20 minutes, okay?
Okay, I shouldn't take that long, but one of the first things that I'm going to address right off the bat is, he said no plan. We do have a plan. We have a plan to increase our parking and our building expansion.
Parking and building expansion?
Parking and building expansion. The next item that I noted from the meeting was stating that the library has no money. And at this time, I would like to bring Mr. Ross Cockfield, who is our financial officer, in front of you to discuss the financial condition of the East Cleveland Public Library.
All right, bring Brother Cockfield up. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you. I'm not here to get into the detail or the detail of the library's finances, but I do want to clearly state that the library has substantial fund balances. We operate with a balanced budget. I understand that the library has had some problems, specifically going back to roughly 2009, 2010. Those problems don't represent the library as it stands today. As a matter of fact, that library and this library are light years apart. So our records are public information. They're online. Anyone can access those records or make a public records request. So I do want to say that the library is fiscally sound and operating on all cylinders. So if you have any questions, any specific questions, I'm open and would certainly like to address those.
What's your balance? What is the balance, your balance in your budget right now?
We operate now with about a $2.3 million budget.
Okay.
Okay. We have fund balances, current fund balances about $1.5 million.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We got a
Hope
million.
everybody heard that.
Yeah, 1,000,005.
Yes.
Okay. I'm open to council. Any other questions? Any council person? Ms. Bloviak?
I would just like to repeat that I am strongly in support of the library obtaining this land, as I have been for essentially the whole time that I've lived in East Cleveland, which is at this point in time, 21 years.
Okay. Ms. Stevenson?
Now, I'm a 50-year resident of the city as well, so
Okay,
I've been around.
50, right?
50.
Yeah,
yes.
you sound like it's 50. I know you've been here for a while,
Mhm.
50 years.
Definitely know.
Okay, Ms. Gowdy, any questions?
I really want to thank y'all for coming out and, we do have a budget and I see that you do have money and, I was on board in 2009. I guess y'all were trying to get the library, I mean, that land,
I wasn't there then.
that was in, okay. But I'm just glad that, you know, the land is set for a while and we have not been nothing on it. I heard that y'all been extended and put some other building on it.
I'll get into that in one moment.
Okay.
Okay,
Once you
I
finish,
think
Mr.
Mr. Smedley has a question. Go ahead, Mrs. Smedley.
Is it appropriate to ask a question from the audience?
Yeah, I'm taking a question. I'm open. If council people have, we're gonna get it all out. If we need a couple of hours, let's get it all out. So I want every question addressed if we can. So you and then I'll go to family. All right, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
So, in most budgets and when planning for expansion, how much of the 1.5 million is dedicated to the expansion of the parking lot and how much is dedicated to the expansion of the building? And what's the cost of the expansion of the library and the expansion of the building?
Did you get those questions, Mr. Tocqueville? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I can say that in terms of our permanent appropriations, we had not factored in the cost of the resurfacing or the acquisition of the parking lot. If the process goes forward, it would simply be a matter of reappropriating the dollars and assigning whatever cost that would be incurred to the budget. Anything further than that has not been factored in.
I can answer part of that.
Okay, go ahead.
That's one of the reasons why we needed to acquire the land first. Because at that point, the parking, we know we can do out of our budget. But the extension to the building, which will give us additional space for the building, we would hire an architect. After we do the survey of the land, find out exactly what the boundaries are, then we will be able to hire an architect and a space planner to actually sit down and plan the expansion of the building. But the parking lot, once we get the survey done, we sit down with our architects and then we can design the parking lot so they will fit contiguously with the expansion of the building. One of the main parts of the expansion of the building will be to allow customers to get out of their car, a well-lighted, secure parking lot, and walk right into the rear of the library versus what seniors and handicapped people have to do now, which is walk all the way around to the front on Euclid, or either cut back through that little side and end up, I think that street is what Elsinore,
Yeah.
right, over there. So the planning process that will take place, we will work directly with the city so that you are aware of what we're doing. The plans have to go before the architectural review board to be approved anyway. But that's where we will be able to come in with an accurate cost of the actual construction. And we have a foundation that we're developing right at this moment that will help raise the money for the building. But the parking lot is like critical. In fact, we have a handout we're going to bring up a little bit later, which shows you what happens. In fact, everybody in here probably already knows. Anytime that there's an event at the library, people got to park across the street, down the street, around the corner, everywhere. Where there's adequate, we can utilize the space that we have right behind the building to create a parking lot. That's one of the part, but the expansion of the building is also going to be part moving forward.
Okay, Mr. Smedley, I see.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Okay, no,
Mr. Fanville
I'm gonna go to Fanville, but let's
Okay,
let him finish your
okay.
questions first. Go ahead.
What is the capacity of the library in terms of the number of people that can patronize the library at one time? And how often are these functions that require greater than parking than you currently have in the back? And as I've been in this community for a long time and have been an avid user of the library up until a few years ago. And the daily patronage does not fill the current parking space. Now, when events are there, I'm not sure, maybe you can answer, how often are these events annually that requires the off-street parking because the parking lot is full?
You want to respond to that? I do know, a couple of weeks ago, we had Forecast. Forecast, which is a jazz group.
Yes, sir.
They're well known. And.
We have
I
another
know
concert coming up this
In
month.
2 weeks, a group from Axe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I hear it very good. Okay,
So
so
is it monthly? Is it
No,
bi-weekly?
but to kind of share a little bit light on that too, that a lot of patrons, they even today on our daily things, even community meetings, when you hold a meeting there, Councilman Martin, Councilwoman Bahoviak, Councilwoman Stevenson, anytime that you attend that, you can clearly see that most of our parking lot right now is taken up by our employees. So people even, most of them don't even look to see if there's a parking space back there, because most of the current parking is taken up by the employees, so they just find a place to park across the street, down the street. Sometimes the front of the library is available, but for the most part, and plus, to have adequate, secure parking that will allow a person to get out of their car and to walk right into the library just doesn't exist right now.
So I'm just trying to understand, because I know, because I live in the community, that on a daily basis, if the library is open, the parking lot isn't full. So you're saying you need parking for events. How often are these events annually?
I said, every weekend is something happening at the library, every single week.
That requires more than the spaces that you have available? Because I like I said, I live in the community and I haven't witnessed it for myself. I
Would
don't
you like
know.
to come up? Yes.
Answer that question. There are people parking in front of the library.
Excuse me, Mr. Bates, I'm Mr. Lattimore. He's the director of
Yes.
Mr. Lattimore, you can come on up. You're the director of the library. Go ahead, sir.
Again, thank you,
All right.
Council, Mayor. Just to answer that question, the parking spaces, we have 35 spaces. We have a total of 34 employees. Everybody may not be there all the time, but most of the time, 80% of the parking lot is taken based on staff. From day to day, we have a partnership with Board of Election, where they come in and train East Cleveland residents on being poll workers. We average maybe 20, 35, that's 4 days out of the week. They're parked across the street, or side of the street. Then there are regular patrons. Most of them have to park either RTA or they park in or around the community. So no, from the day to day, we can't accommodate our daily operations, let alone when we have our big events, which are our concerts and other programs. So now that I'm here, one of the things that I kind of,
Continue.
okay, what I wanted to share is some upcoming events that, we have coming up, which will be April 24th, is Athens Real Deal.
Did you bring any flyers for the?
The Star has flags, and we'll pass
Okay.
those out. We also have a gospel concert where we expect many residents. The Performing Arts Center seats 240.
240.
Then we have 60 for overflow, which that's 300 people per month when we have these series of programs. One of the things that we just opened is our print center, which is open during our hours of operation, 10 to 6, Monday through Thursday, Saturday and Sunday, Saturday 10 to 6. And of course, we have our concerts on Sunday. We'll be offering booklets, postcards, business card, door hangers, flyers, programs, photos, posters, because there is no Kinko's in our community.
Right.
We want to offer those services to our residents in addition to our regular traditional services. We're the only library close by that offers notary, passport
Yeah,
processing,
notary.
free notary for East Cleveland residents, passports, meeting room reservation, library card. We have the entire Shaw High School yearbook archives. We feed the children daily with the food bank, our jazz concert, children's services, computer services, outreach services, virtual programming. We'll be doing a drop within the next couple of weeks, so every household will get this information. Also, part of the handout is the 2021 year in review. It kind of shows what we did last year, how many board meetings we hosted, how we responded to COVID, some of our new services, some of the upgrades that we did to the facility, thanks to our board. Also, our impact on the community. This is what we anticipate this year because it kind of mirrors what we did last year. We had 12,000 walk in attendance. We had 6,000 residents attend our career center. We circulated 21,000 items. 80% of East Cleveland residents are library card holders, and everyone in this room has been in the library recently. Raise your hand if you've been in the library this past year. That's pretty high. We served over 27 lunches and snacks to children after school. We circulated hotspots. I think our mayor checked out hotspots. He's a library user. For our programs, we had over 1,400 attend adult programs, 2,700, teens, 600, and children's programs, over 1,300. With that recap, we were able to receive national recognition, which is part of the packet. East Cleveland Public Library was named a 5-star library, one of the best in the country. East Cleveland Public Library named a 5-star library, one of the best in the country. We're rated 10 in the entire country for public libraries of our size. This library here in East Cleveland, 10th in the country. That's pretty significant. Part of this recognition is also kind of shows what our library looks like when there's an event. So parking is all over the place. Front, back, side. So you can take these and look at them and just understand what we offer the community and what resources we need for our board to advocate to bring more services, bring more patrons in, and more parking space, and then ultimately improve on our space because there's a lot of use from our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, continue, Mr. Rashid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As far as development experience for the library, which the mayor also addressed in his remarks, the Deborah Ann Learning Center and the 240-seat Greg L. Reese Performing Arts Center are both expansions of the original library. We do have development experience on hand, and we'll consult with the former director of the library that led that development, Mr. Greg Reese, as needed going forward. I also want to share to you that on Monday, this past Monday, March 4th, Mr. Latimer, Mr. Cockfield, and myself met with Mr. Jim Rusnoff. Jim Rusnoff is the property manager for RTA.
Jim Rusnoff?
Rusnoff.
Okay.
Yes, Rusnoff. All right, spelled R-U-S-N-O-V. He's the property manager for RTA. We discussed with him our future expansion plans, and he was delighted and informed us that our plans were completely compatible with the possible development plans for the land across the street on Deborah Ann Lane, which RTA already owns. And that they would, not only that, they would support us and work with the East Cleveland Public Library.
All right.
He also, Mr. Rusnoff also informed me.
Well, we'll do better than that.
Mr. Rusnoff also informed me that at this time, RTA has no plans under current discussion with any developer for the land that they now own on Deborah Ann Lane. So, I just wanted to share that. I wanted to also address the statement regarding the abandoned building on Hayden. The abandoned building referred to by the mayor on Hayden Avenue was sold by the library in 2007 to a private party. That was 15 years ago. The library, and after the sale, the East Cleveland Public Library had no responsibility whatsoever for whatever happened to that property. None of the current board members that are here now were even on the Board of Trustees at that time. So, and I also want to say, and a little bit of bragging, that when you visit our building, you can proudly say that we maintain it in a manner that the entire city can be proud of, inside and out.
Counselor Smith is on the line.
Okay, Councilor Smith. I'll let him know that we made a record for his attendance, okay?
Okay, Councilor
We're
Smith, we
gonna
got your
continue,
attendance.
With the Fanbro, continue, then I get the Fanbro's question.
There was
And
a,
then the mayor.
yes, sir.
Okay. No, you continue.
Okay.
And then Fanbro, then the mayor. Okay.
The next thing that I wanted to speak about is that there was a statement that we had no investment into the city. The East Cleveland Public Library has already invested almost $300,000 just in the last 2 years into the East Cleveland Public Library. We've upgraded our heating and cooling system. We've upgraded our lighting system, new carpet for the floors. We repainted the interior of our building. And we are currently erecting a new marquee in the front of the library, which will be visible to the public by late spring or early summer. And we do have the receipts to prove that.
Okay.
In fact, the library has been maintaining the land we are now requesting for the last 10 years. We've been cutting the grass and we've been removing debris as needed, which is an additional investment that we've made into the city of East Cleveland. I just want to say thank you for allowing the East Cleveland Public Library to present the information to you. And we are prepared to address any and all concerns. All we are asking for today is that you bring our legislation to the floor at the next council meeting for your consideration and allow the voting process to proceed. We are prepared to respect the decisions of this council. It is not fair to us or the community that the legislation be held up. As appropriate, it is up to you. As appropriate, it is up to you to decide what is best for our city as we all continue to move forward. But I think this would be a wonderful story on the news to announce the city's support of the East Cleveland Public Library's expansion. And let's be honest, all of us, we all can be proud of some more good news in the media about the city of East Cleveland.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fanbro and then the mayor. Mr. Fanbro, come on up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rashid.
Thank you, sir.
You have a question or a statement, Mr. Fanbro?
I just want to fill in some blanks.
Go ahead.
My name is William Fambro. I'm a 15-year resident, city of East Cleveland. I'm a business owner, property owner, a husband, a father, all that kind of stuff. I also go back to 2011 with being a trustee at the East Cleveland Public Library. So I was sitting there as some things that have been talked about were developed. The library was it was a question at the time as to whether the library would remain an institution of East Cleveland, and the question was, would it go to Cuyahoga County, or would it remain independent as an East Cleveland entity? And I'm very proud to have fought that fight. It started before I was a board member there. I never asked to be a board member, but I was approached at a point in the fight. I got to tell you all that we won.
Yes, we did.
We won big. There are people around, they were here then, and they lost. I'm not willing to give them a chance to win ever. Are you?
No.
So our library moves on. Now, let me tell you that the question at the time was, why tear down those buildings, those apartment buildings along, is it Bryn Mawr? No, it's Deborah Ann Lane. But those buildings were removed so that the land would go to the library from the beginning. There's been no confusion there whatsoever until our mayor and his family tried to take some portion of that land under the property next door kind of rule or legislation that we have. And for the first time, that legislation was kind of twisted around, because up to that point, the property next door meant to the right or left. What they were argued was the property on another street should be given to them under that law. And I thought, wow, you know, this is a change up. I can't tell you why it didn't go through, but certainly our mayor and his family were pushing for that. I think that it failed because the land was originally intended to go to the library, period, no question. So why are we here like this, questioning whether, you know, how that land should, what should happen with that land? That land was always 100% of the time to go to the library for expansion. And I got to tell you that, and I'm a 2011 from my stint on the board of trustees starts in 2011. I ended in 2018. I served the remaining time for a former board member who resigned. The entire board back in that time resigned. And the board had started fresh at that time. In fact, the board had agreed that the library go to the county. And some strong-willed people joined me, and we prevented that from happening. It was a community fight like no other. And we had a second fight. And that fight became, would the city remain East Cleveland or would it be annexed by Cleveland? There were people on both sides. I got to tell you, we won that fight too. We won that fight too. The former mayor was removed by the voters of East Cleveland. We respect our city. We don't want a corrupt city. We want a city that delivers the services and benefits to its people that it should, and that it's supposed to. We want schools that work, not last in the state of Ohio. What is that? We're not dumb people. You know, why can't our children read? We need to get on these things so that we have the city that we dreamed of. You know, our city was prayed for 500 years ago by our ancestors who were slaves. Lord, just have those other people leave us the hell alone so we can be in a place where we could live in peace, okay? And God don't work too fast. He worked 500 years later and we got East Cleveland. Understand me, anybody hear me or y'all got trouble hearing? Can you hear? That's what I'm telling you. So no, we just band together and expect the best from our elected officials and we keep going. That's the path. It's not give anything away or lose anything in the process. It's go forward with what we want to build here. What East Cleveland is in the future is up to the people in this room and the other voters out there throughout the city of East Cleveland. Those are the only people to be concerned with as to what happens with East Cleveland, what happens with our library, what happens with our schools. Okay? We're in charge. Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franco. Mayor Brandon, please. Mayor Brandon, please. Okay, go ahead.
Before we get any remarks, just when the director was up, especially, but when the president of the board, trustees was up,
Okay.
right? I'm glad that council's having this meeting. And I thank library board, president of the library, executive director, treasurer for coming out. This discussion is good. It's good to have. And what I'd like to everyone in the room, certainly, but especially council to be thinking about is being prudent administrators of the city's land, right? Being smart about it, right? We say it all the time, all we have is land and location.
Right.
You can't squander the land, give it away so that it's not at its highest and best use, so that we can't get it there at a later date. The board chair went over a lot of questions that I raised. And I think you missed the gist of what I was getting at with the old vacant library on Haiti, right? So I'm not really here to argue with you, right? And I can't apologize for my education, my training. I know real estate. I know investing. I know urban development, right? What I'm asking with that question was that this city built out, had 3 libraries. So as the executive director, right? As the executive director, what are you doing to then expand your services? They're not walking from GE and Noble all the way to this library. They're not walking all the way from Woodworth, right? To this library. We're in the middle of COVID, right? Everyone knows everything was shut down, right? CDC asked for increased space, libraries, functions, services, books, right? Where is all that going? I know because I'm up to speed with all this, right? Most libraries that are being built today are not being built to hold the density that you're now talking about, right? In fact, libraries as they exist are getting rid of books, right? So when you say we're gonna put more people in the same space, I'm struggling with that from an economic development perspective, right? Because you've got people over here that you have to serve. You're gonna bus them down here, bus every 10 minutes to get to this library. I mean, what is the strategy for that? That's what I was asking, as opposed to just saying it's your fault that it's vacant. That's what I was asking.
Okay, hold it, Mr. Rushing. Mr. Lattimore wanted to respond, then you next. Go ahead, Mr. Lattimore.
One of the reasons we were just recognized as a 5-star library is because we were able to create a new model of services. One thing in regards to reaching residents that are down the other areas of East Cleveland, we did reach a verbal agreement with the school district with the new chambers empowerment center. We were going to bring some of our resources from some of our technology to that space, genealogy programming and other types of programs. However, that project somehow is on hold.
Chambers is closed. Sorry.
The empowerment center, because the school district did receive a grant for that space, which we are in discussion to provide resources in that space as well. One thing that we also have done is invested in our virtual programming. We invested in our virtual books for children and adults because we're part of the Cleveland Consortium. We also have grants to allow for access to the internet, where we have over, I think, 150 hotspots in circulation right now throughout the city of East Cleveland. So we are taking our service out to the community by being more mobile and being more progressive in the services and resources we provide. We also, most recently during the pandemic, with the Friends, we did vaccination clinics, which they're doing one tomorrow at the Salvation Army. We also partnered with the organization Matthews 25, where we secured over $1 million in household items that were distributed over the last 2 weeks. We have a delivery tomorrow, which we'll be getting 2 deliveries for the next 2 weeks. We'll be giving those resources to the community at our Father's Day event. So that's non-traditional services that we're allowing, people are finding a way when they're getting something, they know where that library is at. So, and we also just secured book bags for the giveaway for back to school. So we're doing what we can.
Okay, I'm gonna look at the hand. Hold it for a second, Mr. Mayor. You recognize, but let me go by the order. Smedley and then Ms. Prohobiak. Oh, I didn't see her. Was she?
Mr. Rashid.
Oh, okay, okay. Go ahead. And then, you come on.
I didn't have a question. I didn't have a question.
You
I
want a
just wanted to-
statement?
Yes.
Okay.
About how, good evening, council, library boards and friends and administration. There's no question about the value of the library in this community, and we all recognize it. I was a beneficiary of the services that this library provides. I was in Mr. Fambro's living room when we fought to keep the library local. You remember that, Mr. Fambro? It was 4 of us in your living room manning that fight, starting that fight, strategizing for that fight. So by no means do I want anybody to believe that this administration is against one of the most important pillars of this community that provides services for all ages of this community. We work with the library to have Ohio Means Jobs place someone in the library to help East Cleveland residents seek employment. You remember that, Mr. Lavin? So there is no possible way that this administration and me personally could not support the advancement of the library without saying. But there is a process, and I've been working on acquisition and distribution of land since 2010. When I first came to East Cleveland, when I first started working under Gary Norton, we owned, the city of East Cleveland, other than its municipal spaces, we owned 5 acres of land. That doesn't include the parks or anything like that, or the MLK. Today, we own over 200 acres of land, and that was through strategic acquisition strategies. And the use of the land I've been working on since 2010. And this is a question for council. Council is the only body in this city that can determine the disposition of all real property. We get that 100%. Our job as the administration is to put together a process by which we evaluate applicants to determine whether or not we want to transfer land to them. And it doesn't appear that we're following that process, and I don't know why. We have built a neighborhood advisory committee, which former Councilwoman Mildred Brewer put in place for acquiring land in our city land bank. The neighborhood advisory committee is made up of residents who applicants go before to explain why they're purchasing the land and demonstrate their capacity to do the project that they said. This class of NAC is probably the most credible class that has been in existence, I know, since my tenure working with East Cleveland. We have former bank executives. We have library treasurers on that board. Mr. Coxfield serves on that board, who's revamping the process in order for us and for that committee to make a genuine recommendation when an applicant comes before them to city council. So there's a process that is there for a very specific reason.
Are you saying, Mr. Smith, that we're not following the proper process?
I'm saying exactly that, right? And Mr. Coxfield is one of the architects of the revamping of that process. So is John Moody, former bank executive at Key Bank. We have Reverend Henry, all these are East Cleveland residents, who have vast financial experience. And Mr. Moody was the ended vice president at Key Bank who administered loans for construction loans. That was his job for 30 years. So these are the types of professionals that sit on the neighborhood advisory committee to help us discover whether or not applicants have the credibility, the capacity, the financial capability to do what they say they're going to do. And they require preliminary information well before they even consider whether or not supporting a recommendation to come to city council. So that process, I believe we should not skirt, because these professionals have and are putting time and effort to create a process that is extremely credible. So when they make a recommendation to the council, that is a true and real recommendation based off of hard facts and expertise in how you finance projects when you're talking about building on our land. Now, the land is owned by the city, and I heard Mr. Rashid say that he spoke to someone at RTA and they said they had no plans. The council president, you were in a meeting with myself, the mayor, your deputy clerk, with Mary Ann Feeke, who is the development director for RTA, explaining to you where they are in developing a residential project on the land and on their land, and their interest in expanding that to put workforce housing that is transportation-oriented development right there in that same spot. So we're talking the difference between putting cars on land or building spaces where people can live, people who are working in and around our community, because cities are funded through income tax and property tax. So
Let me ask you this question. The neighborhood advisory committee that you spoke very highly of, have we gone through that process?
we have
with
not.
this?
We have not gone through that process. We have not gone through that process. And I believe that we do so. So for us, it's only to provide you information, right?
Right.
It's only to provide you information.
Okay.
That committee is designing this process, revamping this process so that they can get the requisite information that allows for the city and council to make a decision, because East Cleveland is 3.2 square miles, 2.2 square living miles. Land doesn't grow. Once we give it away, that's it. So this town was built for 40,000 people. Today we have 17,000. Just in 2020, we had 17,000 people who worked and where we gained taxes from. Today we have 3,500 employed people where we tax them so that we can provide services to the community. Every opportunity, and the mayor spoke to this earlier, every opportunity to put land in productive use and its highest and best use. And all we're going to do is make a recommendation on what is highest and best. You completely make the decision. That's not our prerogative. And however you measure what's highest and best use based off of what we present and what the NAC recommends, then that's your decision. But I'm only saying this, that process needs to happen, because the professionals who are working in that process, I think it would be really a slap in their face that they don't consider every project when people come in to get land through the city land bank. And then lastly,
Okay, I agree with that, but I want you to continue, but Mr. Cockfield, you're on the neighborhood advisory committee, are you not?
I am.
So are you comfortable with us going through the proper process of bringing this to that?
I mean, certainly I have to recuse myself from the process. but
All right,
Yes, I have no problem with that.
okay, hold on 1 second.
As a board member.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You get a chance to speak, Mr. Cockfield.
Appreciate it.
Continue.
So-
Mr. Smith.
So every parcel of land in this city has to be evaluated for its highest and best use. Because once we dispose of that parcel, then we have no control over whether or not it's in its highest and best use. I agree with the library 1,000% that whatever they need in order to provide services to the community, I agree that that should happen, right? But I also agree that we need to consider whether or not we're going to use land where we're going to build spaces where the city can generate revenue in order to provide high quality services to the residents. So that is the dilemma that we have here. We have an institution that's fully respected. Everybody in this room knows that the library is a high quality institution ran by some very, very capable people. No question. But we also know that in order for the city to rebuild its tax base, to provide high quality services, to resurface roads, to continue to do demolition, and we need to ensure that when we have an opportunity
to put a piece of land into productive use, that we try to get the highest and best use out of it, generate tax revenue in order to do those things. So, but all we're going to do is say, this is what it is. You make that decision. You were in the room with Mary Beth Feeke talking about putting together a project to bring in housing for workforce housing in a transportation-oriented fashion. And that's the new development style. How do you build housing around transportation so people can go to and from work or to and from the world? If that particular location allows a person to walk across the street, get on the train, go down to the airport and go anywhere in the world. Not too many communities have that, right? So we have to be very strategic in how we use our land. That dilemma is yours, it's not ours, right? You have to make a decision on this highly credible institution providing great services to the community, looking to get a piece of land that we're planning to put housing on to bring more people in the community so we can generate more tax revenue so we can provide better services. That dilemma, that responsibility is yours. All I'm saying is we have a process where we have very, very, very professional individuals with decades of experience in helping determine whether or not the finances is there in order to do that. And I think we need to go through that process, but at the end of it, you're gonna have to determine what's highest and best. Do we use that land to generate tax revenue or do we not? Do we give it to a very credible institution that provides services throughout this entire community from ages 5 to 75? That's a decision that is solely council's responsibility. And that's all we're going to provide is that information, and with no emotion, no leaning to either side. It is my responsibility to find entities that are going to invest money so that we can bring in residents and businesses to generate tax revenue. And the partnership with the RTA is one of those things. By the time it gets to you, as a matter of fact, it's not even finished, right? If the RTA came for that land today, there is no plan. There is no renderings, there's no architectural stuff. There's none of the things, the financials aren't in place, none of the things that Mr. Coxfield would have to consider in order to even make that recommendation, right? But the possibility exists, and we'll know in a matter of months whether or not they have the developer to make that project live. And I think we should at least see whether or not we can do that. But that's only a recommendation. It is fully the responsibility of the council.
Well, I'm gonna yield to hold on 1 second, because this needs to be said. I'm asking these very intelligent people up on this council, we have some all-of-mind intelligence, that they have to weigh this before we decide to whatever decision we're gonna make probably a couple of weeks from now. But they need to hear it all. That's one reason why I made sure we had this meeting. Hear it all. The library's got a development. Ms. Feek, is that her name?
Mary Beth Feeke,
Mary
she works for
Beth
RTA.
They have something they want to do. Now, we gotta hear it all. If not, we're not intelligent. Okay, we gotta hear it all. So I think
I have not spoken.
you haven't spoken.
No, I have not, in reference to this, on this book.
Okay, go
Number
ahead.
one, this council has the responsibility, that is your duty and your solely responsibility. Whatever is made by the NACP. I'm very cognizant of the committee. It started during my tenure on council. Now, just to address something that has been said here now. And he started out real well. I was supported him from that. Then he got to the negative about bringing the RTA in and all this stuff and what have you. Mr. Rashid has spoken in reference to a person I guess is higher than whomever he's spoke to in reference to that. They had no, the property they have is on the east side. We are talking about the property on the west side. But have said that, when it comes to the property, and he talking about, let me just address this before I go to the property. When he talking about property, I thought this was a free land. Everybody that's coming up here, I saw 10 or 12 pieces of property that had houses on it, that was rebuildable. And this council passed and gave it to them. And you told them, you got it. So I want you to holler
You talking about living next door or something? You know?
the property, that's property. That's what we're talking about, property.
Right.
So I want you to be cognizant of what I'm saying, of the property. You're talking about redeveloping the city now all of a sudden, when we want property and we are helping to rehabilitate the city or what have you. You're not giving it us in the property. It was given that someone had made, I think it was former board member of Fambro, we made mention of it, when they offered us this property. So, but I want this council to understand, whatever the advisory committee, you are responsible appointing them. They come under the auspices.
That's not true. I mean,
No,
continue.
no,
We don't have an appointment on that committee.
I know you don't, because you didn't do it. We appointed people to that committee.
Continue,
Now,
what you say is not true. Go ahead.
That is not, you say
Right,
can't
that's
show me
true.
where I'm wrong. You can't prove me wrong, because I know we appointed people to that committee. I don't care whether you appointed anyone to that committee or not. Whatever recommendation they make to you, come back to you, because
We can
you
approve it or
you can approve it or disapprove. You can accept it or not accept it. You have that authority. You are the elected people of the city. And that's whom is responsible to whomever is appointed to any position. They do not usurp your authority. You have the
Nobody
authority.
said that they did. Nobody said that they did.
If
Mr.
you
O'Malley.
listen very
Yeah,
well.
but you're kind of twisting it.
No, I'm not twisting anything.
Come on,
but
make your point now.
You didn't interrupt anyone else.
Well,
You sit
no,
there and
because
listen to it. Every time
everyone
I
else
get-
was kind of neutral, but you're kind of.
No, I'm not
trying to
twisting
take us to the point of
anything.
view or what?
No, I'm not trying to teach
Okay,
anything.
all right.
You need to listen and.
Come on. You and I go back and forth with this all the time. Go ahead.
It is unfortunate. I can't, as a citizen, and not only a citizen, but you, as vindicated before, you serve at the behest of the citizen. And I would appreciate you extending that courteous to me, and not only sitting on this board, to sit here without interrupting me, as you did not interrupt anyone else when they got up to speak. I just asked you to extend the same
We
courtesy.
go through this, we've been going
Now-
through this for years. Please, every night. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You are
I'm
every
gonna
night
be
black,
quiet.
because I don't see you every
know,
night.
we did it
So don't
yesterday.
sit up there.
We did this yesterday.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But to get,
Go ahead.
to
please.
follow the norms in which we are here.
Mhm.
We are here in reference to the property. I have not my life, not all my life, but as long as I've been in this city, and I was coming to these meetings before any of you in here was coming to a meeting here in this city. And I have never, in all of the time that I've sat on this council, served on this council, and then since I've been off this council, I have never, ever seen or experienced anyone that's going through what we are going through for property in this city that you taking us through. We never went, no one has gone through that. Whomever come here for property. So I'm saying either, and I'll just break it down this way. Either you do your due diligence, what you was elected to do, and follow the norms as you have been set up to follow, that you swore to uphold your oath, I expect you to follow that. And that this property that we've been maintaining for over 10 years, or what have you. And then other people come in next door, or whatever, they're saying they don't go through all this. And I don't think that we should go through it. Now, all of a sudden, you have developers are coming in. This property has been vacant for more than 10 years. Where was the developers then? Where was the developer? Stop it there and cogitate over
We're
that.
gonna have an answer to that. But I think also needs to be said, and I heard what you said, Mr. O'Meara. Right now, what I'm comprehending is the library has a proposal for parking and what was the other thing?
Building
Parking
expansion.
and building expansion. And there's a group that wants to do development, I think, and it's involving the same property, and they want to invest millions.
No, sir, that's not true.
That's not
Okay.
true.
That's not true.
No.
It's not?
You didn't
How do
do
you,
that.
wait a minute, wait a minute.
Council President, you were
Okay,
acting.
well, yeah. Let me say this. I was there, and these were professional people, and they're stated that they want to invest millions. I think the same property. You know, it was like in front of me, I got five parcels, but they were legitimate. It's something that we've got to weigh. Now, it's 5 council people. I'm only one council person. We're gonna have to weigh that. Nobody's sitting up here is opposed to the library. I've been involved with the library for 30 years. I go back to what's his name? I can't think of his name. Greg, you're right. I go back because I have, I guess, a lot of history. When we used to, where we have our meetings at, that's where we used to have the concerts, down there. Okay, and Greg Reach stepped out, got foundation support, got the money, and we built the Greg L. Reach Performing Arts, which is the only library in the state that has a performing arts facility that holds 240 people.
And then,
Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But me, as a citizen over the next 50, 60 years in this city, and me up here, I'm gonna look at the facts. That's why we're having this meeting. That's why I called us to have this meeting. I'm gonna weigh what I think is best for the city. It may be for the library, it may not be. But that's why I wanted to have this so we can get this out here. Okay? All right.
President, I got to clarify.
Well, yeah, clarify if I got something incorrect, then I'm gonna hear Ms. Scott. Go ahead. Because did I get
Professional.
the amount of that group
Wow.
that was alluded to, you want to elaborate on it? How much money did the group say they were willing to invest?
Between 18 and 20 million.
Yes.
That's how much it costs just to build. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, go ahead.
The neighbor next door is for parcels where residents on residential streets live next to.
Right.
And they're not strategic for future development because the parcels themselves, they do not meet today's state code in size. So you would have to shrink the house, or you would have to take another lot next to it in order to widen the lot, in order for it to be built so that you can put a house on. So that's, and in the legislation for neighbor next door, it specifically says that you cannot build a structure, a living structure on that property. So if a person on, let's say, Savannah, where we've knocked down a couple of houses, want to expand their yard because one, there is no development plan for that individual lot, then the highest and best use for it is to allow for that resident to expand their lot and to manage land that we have to pay to manage. And we do that all over the city.
And you know,
I just want to make that point.
yesterday, I had in front of me, I didn't have to use it. 2011, the legislation that Mildred Brewer acted on it for the neighbor next door. And we have given hundreds of properties to people neighbor next door, but I don't think it's been involved in development.
And
So
Mr.
what
Chairman.
we're attempting to do here, Mr. O'Meara, and I'm giving you a few more minutes, and we're gonna move somewhere, is I want this council, I want the council to hear all of this. Okay, we're not gonna make a decision tonight. We're not gonna make a decision, but 18 to $20 million investment in these were professional people, professional. Okay, that's something that we're gonna be discussing. And then what the library wants to do to expand the parking and building expansion. Okay, well, the intelligent thing is to weigh this. And then when we come to the point in the next 2 or 3 weeks of when we get ready to vote on what we're gonna do, you've heard it. Go ahead, Ms. Gowdy.
Listen,
I'm with Ms. Gowdy.
No, you tell her what you know.
Okay, but you already spoke. I'm giving her a chance. Then you next.
This is the first
You
I
spoke
heard
already.
of
Go
RTA.
ahead.
It seems like when RTA wanted the land, they did not discuss the land or nothing. Now y'all coming forward and y'all definitely want the land. Here they come again. I mean, I cheated this. This is the first I heard of RTA. So I'm looking at RTA is just trying to interfere with the library of what they're trying to do. And I feel like, you know, RTA got enough money. We need the land, and I'm for the library. I am 100% for the library because we do need parking. RTA needs to go somewhere else and find some other land. Maybe we'll work with them down the line, but right now I'm dealing with this. RTA did not come before us. RTA did not say anything. RTA doing what RTA wants to do. And at the end of the day,
RTA got that land originally from East
Mr.
as
Fanbro,
well.
you haven't been recognized.
at the end of the day, I'm for the library. I contract this, and I definitely want the library to have this land.
And thank you, and I appreciate that. But let me explain something
Oh,
to you.
Mr. O'Meara,
When-
you got 3 minutes to wrap up.
Oh,
so I
okay,
can get the
I
other
will.
people. I'll give you a lot of
Now-
time. Go ahead.
If there are other entities that is involved and
Never came forward.
never came forward
Right.
to you, we're coming here now. If you are cognizant of that, and if you come up here and blow it out or what have you, and it get back to them when we were here before you, that is a blatant violation.
But this ain't even the
That's
problem.
not our-
That land was not touched for over 10 years. Y'all took care of it. Y'all maintain it.
Right.
So therefore, the land should be yours.
That's correct.
And it shouldn't
Okay.
be a private.
Wrap it up on me.
And I'm gonna wrap it up. As I said in my closing,
Right.
as I said, I've been here as long as anyone else and before someone else. I haven't never, ever, all of the people that have come here and developers and what have you, that has come before this council and council preceding you and preceding me and what have you, and doing my team. And I'm gonna drop this bomb. And I'm gonna drop this bomb.
Drop the bomb.
The bomb is what took some of us or what have you. You know, I just said, the FBI is just some of them. I'll just put it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Okay,
instead
hold
of
on,
saying
Mr.
that,
Rashid. Let me hear from Ms. Stevenson and then Ms. Rehoboth. Ms. Rehoboth and then Ms. Stevenson. Let me do the right way.
I wanna,
Okay,
there's been a lot of discussion about land,
yeah.
and I've been here 2 years. And it took me a while to get acclimated to this whole land situation and what happened, because there's so many parts that turn and twist in ways that the council is not familiar with, nor what are we made familiar with it. You sort of have to learn it on your own. And so I've sat back and I've watched pieces of land being sold, and I've watched properties being vetted. through the NAC. And for the most part, if the land is not in the neighbor next door project, Mr. Smedley, the land has not come before this council. And what I would like to ask, since you're stating now that that is our responsibility, I would like to ask how many pieces of land have been sold that were not vetted by the NAC or this council?
Not a single one.
No, that's not true.
Not a single piece of land has been sold
Mr.
without this
Smedley,
council
you're on the
passing a
record.
piece of legislation.
You're on the
I'm
record,
definitely,
Mr.
not
Smedley.
under my tenure, not under my tenure,
You're
not
on
a
the
single
record,
piece
Mr.
of land transferred. If you find a parcel that the city owned that transferred without a piece of legislation, I would love to see that happen. Not a single piece of
City
land
owned.
transferred,
City name.
not one. You name
You
a
have
parcel,
two land banks. You have a city land bank and you have a county land
and
bank.
the county land bank owns their own.
Properties that have been transferred in the city of East Cleveland that did not come before this council since I've been sitting.
So there are private owners who transfer land that doesn't come before. The only land that comes before council for transfer is land that's owned by the city in the land bank. If I buy a parcel from Mr. Fambro, that transfer doesn't come before council.
There have been transfers of land that have gone to people in this city, and the land has been transferred to someone else at a zero cost, Mr. Smedley. You don't want to do this with me. You don't.
No, you don't want to do this with me. I know
do,
this intimately.
Because I understand clearly.
The county
now
land
what
bank
is
doesn't
supposed
need
to
council
happen.
approval to
And what's
transfer
supposed
land.
to happen is this city is supposed to put the land, bring that land to this council before
And you-
it is sold or done
You're fully
anything.
unaware of the law.
And I believe I can read and I understand, comprehend it very well. Before it can be done, anything, it is supposed to be posted in the newspaper and approved by this council, and that has not happened in the 2 years I've been here. Thank you.
Don't make no leave, Mr. Smith, because I want we got to open, I want to get it all out here. Ms. Brovack, your turn.
I would like to say that I speak not only as a current member of the city council, as the former vice president of the city council, as a 21-year resident. I've served on the boards of two significant nonprofits, the Coit Road Farmers Market and the New Renaissance, which was much more active some days ago. I've volunteered with enough community groups that I cannot keep track of them at all. But in the years I've been here, one thing has been evident, and that is as far as East Cleveland's planning for its institutions, whether this is public institutions or private institutions, any kind of institutions, there have been several plans, but I have not seen any of them followed. So I look at the banks that we've lost, problems with water infrastructure, problems with our parks, our roads, our city hall, the water pipes that are still leaking into the jail, the last I knew. Issues with the fire department. And then there was the post office that we used to have, that we sort of have. And I spoke with Senator Sherrod Brown during that process, and he assured me that he thought he could have saved that post office for us if he had known earlier and if it had not been kept secret from us by then Mayor Gary Norton. So we need to have a clear and transparent concern about our city's institutions. And the library is a major institution in this city. The library is an essential institution. It provides services. It provides a warm place for somebody to sit if they're homeless. It provides a place for our students to study when their homes are not conducive to studying. It provides books and computers and hotspots and da-da-da-da. we could go on with what it provides. There have been activities. If you go behind the library in what is now the parking lot, there have been children's activities. There have been adult activities. There have been things happening there. And one of the things that was discussed earlier, I don't know if it's still on the table, but was the expansion of these children's activities, these summertime children's activity in that space, which is currently the parking lot and which would be larger. I think it would be a huge mistake if we didn't put the needs of our library and the needs of all of our citizens who use the library and the needs of the citizens of the people from other places who come to use our library because of the value they place on it. I think it would be a huge not to put the needs of the library higher than the needs of somebody to build houses. We have lots of other spaces to build houses. The RTA has space across the road. I think that would be terrific if they built there. When I was on the board of Windermere Renaissance, we talked about building a medical office building. This was before we had the Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and a dialysis center and residential areas there. I think that would be terrific. But the land next to the library is the land next to the library. We cannot move the library someplace else. Granted, I think it would be nice if at some point in time we had smaller library branches in other places in the city. But I think right now, the priority must be making sure that we have adequate space for the things that the library needs to do. And I think that takes the place, I think that's more important than anything the NAC could say. I think it's more important than anything the mayor can say. I think it's more important than anything. I think we need to support our library. I think we need to make sure this land goes to our library. I think it's sad that it has been misdirected to Willoughby's and misdirected from Willoughby's to the mayor's office. I think we should take what we have as far as paperwork, and the council should pass this at our next meeting.
I see you this year. And then we're gonna spend another 5 or 10 minutes, and we're gonna wrap this up. And then this council will decide, I think a week or two from now, we'll vote on this. Well, I don't think we got a legislation, I don't even think we have legislation to point. Do we?
Yes, sir.
Wait a
minute, I'm asking a question.
If you follow the law, no, you don't.
No, right.
What needs to happen is.
And you can't vote on it, you're a committee.
Hold on, Tracy, the contract and property committee.
It's gotta go to the neighborhood advisory committee, we don't have to, whatever we. Yes, it does. Yes, it
No, it
does.
doesn't. Your law says it does.
You don't have to.
It don't have to.
Okay, well, we can turn it up and turn it down, but we're gonna go through the proper process and procedure, that's what government is all about.
The contract and property committee, has already requested that the legislation be created.
Okay,
So per the law,
all right,
Ms. Hemmons has to create the legislation, but and then in that law that we gave you, the council adopted to go in front of the NAC. Whether y'all do that or not, that's on y'all.
Okay, and what we'll do,
That's right.
people, we're gonna vote on this thing in 2 weeks.
Fine.
We had enough dialogue about it. From what I'm feeling, the consensus is, people got their opinion. Ultimately, it boils down to 5 of us, how we vote. 3 carry the day.
I want to
Okay.
share something to give you some sense of
Okay.
easement too.
Okay.
My conversation with RTA was very clear.
Mhm.
They
talking about
own
Mr. Ruffin,
Mr. Rusno. They
Ruffin,
own the
right.
other side of the street. This development project that has been mentioned here
Uh-huh.
they're doing on the other side of the street. And he
You talking
clearly.
about Elsinore? or
No,
Deborah?
on Deborah Ann Lane, when you come down by the library, the parking lot is over here,
Right.
the east side, that's right, the east side. And
Okay.
he said it more than once that that project is fully compatible with what the library is doing. He said we are
You don't
fully
just jump
compatible
in
with
front
what
of
they're
council,
doing.
guy.
And they are going
Process.
to work
You
along
think
with
somebody's
us.
supposed to just jump in front of council?
And Jim,
Go ahead.
and you work for the council, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, understand your place, because this is the council.
Zaki, you're on
This
the
is the
library
council
board
seat.
and you don't even live in the county.
But
You don't
I-
tell me to
I can
understand
tell
this
you
place.
something.
You're not even supposed to be on the library board. You don't live in the county. You're not supposed to be on the library board.
You're right, you're right. And I apologize.
You're not even supposed to be on the library board. You don't live in Cuyahoga County. Oh, okay. All
But
right.
what I want to say is that RTA clearly indicated to the library
Uh-huh.
that they want to work with us. Our project is compatible to what they want to do. They don't have any interest at this
That's
point
right.
on the other side of the street. And they said that at this particular time in place on earth, they are not doing anything with that land. This man controls all the real estate for RTA.
Just roughing up.
This Mr. Russell.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked him if I could use his name and that you would be able to contact him. And he said, yes.
Okay.
So if they are spending 18, $20 million, that's good for all of us.
Yeah.
Because what we're asking you to do as a council body is to support and protect the library.
That's right.
Because that's what you're doing. You are protecting this library to allow us to continue to expand our services and the programs that we offer to the city, not just now, but moving on in the future. Sure, there may be somebody that will come in and say, we'll build a skyscraper over there, but it's for you as the body that governs this community to decide what is best for our community. Sometimes, I'm not using this particular case, it might not make financial sense sometimes, but in terms of committing to the community and what's best for the community, and there is so much land around East Cleveland that people can develop. Why is it focused on behind the library? So I'm saying that what we want to do is expand the library and continue moving forward to build our parking lot as soon as we can, and the expansion of the building. But that's what we're asking, for you to bring it to a vote and then the council decide.
My feeling right now is we're gonna have a vote in 2 weeks. Okay,
Thank you. That's all we're asking.
Anybody
To the vote and whatever happens, we'll
want to do
live
some
with it.
research, talk to Mr. Ruffino, I'll get his number from you.
Okay.
And talk to the mayor, talk to Michael Smedley, whatever it takes to do it, but I think we spent enough dialogue. I think we need to go. We're gonna have a vote in 2
I'll
weeks.
make sure you get his number.
Okay. I think our next meeting, Justice, when?
Per Mr. Rashid, I need to sit here and be quiet. So if you ask me a question and I start talking, that's what I'm gonna do.
No, I'm asking-
Nate did.
Yeah.
So he told me to stay in my lane when he asked me a question. And he's not even qualified to be on the library board.
Sit down. You'll be recognized. Go ahead, Mr. Smith. Okay, because we're gonna wrap this up. Okay, go ahead. Make your point and be professional. Okay.
I have no horse in this race. My job is to provide information.
Okay.
My job is to provide an analysis.
Mhm.
And I don't know the gentleman that Mr. Rashid was speaking about. I
This
know.
Ruffino guy from
Yes,
the
I just don't know him, but I know the meeting that we sat in together.
Right.
This is not something that you're getting secondhand, you got firsthand.
Right.
Maybe Mr. Rashid Muhammad is correct. Maybe it should be a partnership between the library and RTA. That's not my decision to make. That's a decision for the body. And I've never, ever tried to influence you other than provide you the facts in every situation. But I would also like to say, the accusation that we've given away land has been permeating for years. And I have challenged every person to single out a single parcel that has occurred. So Councilwoman Stevenson, identify a parcel.
You want me to identify a parcel?
Identify a parcel.
I will
Let me
identify-
finish.
I will
Identify a parcel that the city of East Cleveland
I will
owns.
Identify a parcel.
Identify a parcel that the city of East Cleveland owned that transferred without a piece of legislation from council. Name one.
We'll see
One.
that.
Simple.
Yes, you can.
Go ahead.
Yes.
You want to answer it right now? Go
Yes.
ahead, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
There's property at the corner of Euclid and Noble. There was a building across the street from the gas station at Euclid and Noble. That building was sold to these drug people that are now at Euclid and Sandwood. There was a building on that land when it was sold. When the tax record came up, there was no building. The city tore the building down, and now the land is in the land bank.
In our city land bank, which means.
It does not matter what land
Which
bank
means,
it is in.
then the land never transferred.
It did not come before the council.
So actually it did come.
You tore down a building.
Demolition doesn't have to come before council. We didn't tear it down. The county land bank tore it down.
You tore down a building and held money away from this city that should have been collected tax money. And instead they paid taxes on a piece of vacant land.
So
that property was in those people's name for more than a year almost.
It never transferred. There's no point of order.
What is your point of order?
The demolitions, according to the charter, demolitions are to be approved by the Historic Preservation Board.
So the problem is folks only have pieces of information.
Yeah.
The only time demolitions go before the preservation board is if federal funds are being used. The county land bank uses their funds, which has nothing to do with the city. Secondly, the legislation that was passed for Cornerstone to get that property was voted on by this council. There's a piece of legislation that represents that. And secondly, they couldn't come up with the money, so we didn't do the transfer. And the land is still in the city's land bank.
So how did they end up? They couldn't come up with the money. How did they end up with a brand new building up here on Euclid across from the shopping center up there?
They're in the
and the treatment center next to Family Dollar. Stanwood and Euclid.
So they lease a building, they lease the old Prevail.
You said they didn't have no money. How could they do that? That's what I'm saying to you. If they don't have any money, how could they do all this?
So they came before the NAC.
Go ahead.
They came before the NAC.
Okay, the name of the project.
Yes, they were supposed to pay $22,000 for the building and $945,000 for the renovation.
All right.
They didn't have the money, so it never transferred. Just that simple. And they wanted the building to renovate it. When it was proven that they didn't have the resources, the land bank demolished the building so that we can now use this land for productive use.
But we want all of our land back out the land bank.
You allow
Ma'am, you have no idea what you're talking about.
You allowed this city not to collect the taxes on the building that was on the property, and the building was inadvertently torn down, and so then after it was torn down, then y'all moved it.
So the building went into tax foreclosure, meaning the owner of the building had no intention of paying the taxes. We acquired the building through tax foreclosure. So if you own a building, you don't pay your taxes, they take you to court. They inform you that they're taking you to court. They take you to court, they sue you, and they take the property from you. It goes through 2 sheriff sales. It's offered for the tax value, if nobody buys it, then it's offered again for the highest and best offer. Nobody took it again. After that, it goes into state forfeiture. And then that's when the city comes after it. After no one, the owner or any future person who wanted to buy that building, demonstrate that there is no use in their eyes for it. When it goes to state forfeiture, that's when we go get it. Now, if you follow, all you gotta do is go to My Place, the county website, and you can follow the transfer history.
All right.
You can see when it came to East Cleveland, it never went anywhere else. I don't understand why we get to these places and we tell you the same thing and you say the exact same thing, but we give you where you can find the proof and you never go there. Just go. Go to the train. Go to the train.
Here's where we are, everyone.
We want all our land.
We're gonna vote on this, these 5 parcels of land. we're going to wrap it up. We had enough dialogue. We got 5 parcels of land, 2 weeks from now, Mr. Clerk, 2 weeks at the next council meeting.
Tracy is typing in there and she has something she needs to say. Tracy,
Okay,
you
go
can go
ahead,
ahead.
Tracy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What I was saying was they're talking about that legislation again. The charter is very specific that Willa has to approve it as to form. Otherwise, council cannot approve legislation if she does not sign off as to form. You're breaking the law.
If she were the law director, but we have no law director.
Council,
because
if
we
you
have not
simply
approved
send up the request, the legislation will be created. All we're asking.
The request was sent upstairs.
Quiet.
So, so there,
Everybody
So,
can talk at one time.
Tracy,
It was sent upstairs a week ago. Willa has everything, yes. At the legislative
fine.
request with all the backup that the
Now,
library sent
Hold on
us
a
was
second,
sent
Chris.
upstairs.
can we vote on this thing in 2 weeks?
Yes.
I'm asking my clerk.
Once
Can-
once we get the legislation back down from Willa and she approves us the form.
What have the legislation?
so the reason she probably didn't send it down, and I don't know,
Okay,
is because there's a process that's in the code that you go through the NAC. You
Okay.
put in the application, you prepare the application, get the requisite documents, go before the NAC, they make a recommendation to council. Every piece of land goes that way. If you choose to suspend that, that's your prerogative.
hold it for a second.
No, she sent it to,
Okay.
she sent it to the mayor.
She sent it to the mayor.
Oh, it's Saturday.
So it goes to building and housing.
So that's not
Okay.
the NAC.
So where is it at this point?
I don't know. I will find it and I'll make sure legislation.
And hold it, I'm gonna ask I'm gonna, go ahead. I'm gonna
follow the
procedure, right, we're going to go through
Follow the
procedure, everything
We
works
said
out.
it was a bad investment, vote no. Council took it and gave them the building on Euclid and Stanwood after we provided the NAC document that said no recommendation. If we follow the NAC, we'll send it to the NAC, the meeting on the 13th. Yes or no from the NAC, then we can create the legislation to come before council, and then you can vote on it. I'm going to follow. I'm going to follow the proper protocol. It's gotta go through the
Tracy,
NAC.
do we have that legislation that says that they're addressing about the
council
NAC?
has the authority, use the legislative branch.
I don't have it. I gave it to you last week.
Basically, give us a summary of what it says.
Come up there like.
Well, I do.
Sit down.
Tracy,
I don't know it off the top of my head. It was 18
summary.
Oh, I couldn't even give you a
Go
summary.
ahead, Tracy, go
One
ahead.
person at a time, yeah.
Okay, Tracy, go ahead.
I just know that there was, we found the legislation that was created back, Mr. Bibbs and all of them had signed off, and so did, Miss Bruce Brewer and that, and it stated that the side lots or any, or any land that was going to be revitalized, it still had to submit an application to NAC. I found it, it's in the office. I gave copies to everybody. We did that 2 weeks ago. It was just, simple. You follow the steps, you go through NAC, even if they don't recommend.
We
you
have to,
still-
Tracy, we have to go to NAC, is that correct?
That was,
I'm talking to the clerk, not you.
that
Go
was
ahead.
legislation that was created and is on the books. Legislation is law. We cannot circumvent the law. You did not create, there's no other legislation that says
Okay.
council, unless you want to create legislation and say, you rescind that, you want to bypass and you want to do this.
All right,
And then we
so
can
what,
ask-
here's what we're gonna do, Tracy. We're gonna follow the proper process and procedure. We're going through that. Once we get that done, it'll be at the next council meeting to vote it up or vote it down. If we vote on it today, I think the library will get what they're asking for. I can tell by what I'm hearing from the other council people. But we're not going to not follow the proper process. We took Don Jones through this.
I went through
She
it.
went through this. You went through that. Okay, so.
Well, look at it this way. When some of the
Go ahead.
processes weren't followed properly or we
Right.
we sort of jumped around, that's how you
Mhm.
ended up with the dump site.
Right. So
Yeah.
what
But
we
I
gonna
don't think, I think Mr. Rashid and that, and I did speak with him, it's just a simple
Uh-huh.
thing at the NAC. And, they're only an advisory. Council doesn't have to go by what they say, but at least
Right,
you
all
can
they do is
say,
make a recommendation.
you could say that you
hold
followed
on.
all the proper procedures, and then
Right.
council, if, what it also says in the charter, if the mayor and them won't create legislation in an open public
The
meeting,
council,
3 council
Right.
people could tell the mayor right then and there, you want legislation prepared in regards to these pieces of parcels. It's all
Well, you-
spelled
No,
out.
it does say that.
It does.
okay, we've been dealing
We're
with,
gonna do
I
it
think,
this way.
we've been dealing with this now for two, 3 years. Hold it. And what we're gonna do, I don't wanna go there right now, Mr. Pembroke.
We're
We're gonna follow procedure, Rashid. We're gonna go through that, then we're gonna have, it's gonna be voted on very soon. So we're gonna follow proper, so there's no discrepancies about the process and procedure.
No, I
Well,
don't want.
afterwards, because we've been here a while.
No,
What I'm going to do, I'm gonna have my clerks, once
Do what?
we go through the neighborhood advisory committee, are you listening to them? Listen for a second. As we go through that, then we're gonna set up the meeting for the council to vote on it. They have the 5 parcels of property in front of them. Everybody on council has it. So we're gonna follow that. 2-3 weeks ain't gonna make that big a difference. We'll get it done.
And
Okay.
RTA
Okay.
did not come to
All right.
work and discuss any of this, so RTA ain't got nothing really to say.
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to know the history. RTA.
You're gonna be quick, Pembroke.
Very quick. The RTA property was given to RTA by the city. They didn't buy that land. And now what the library should do is take any piece of that land on the other side of the street that might be available, ask the county to give it back.
They don't want
The
that.
other
They
thing-
want what they want.
The other thing is that
I'm ready to go.
all the brilliant experts in the NAC approved a dump that we fought with for 6 years. Many people died breathing those toxic fumes and other mess over there. The administration at the time brought us that and fooled our council into supporting that too. So I just want to remind us that.
Okay, now
careful.
here, Mayor Brandon King, you got the last comment, and we're gonna adjourn. Go ahead.
No, you're done with the meeting.
All right.
Thank you for the
Go ahead.
last comment.
Yeah.
Couple last comments. So again, I think this is worth noting again. The administration is not against the RTA. I mean.
Would you say that again, so everybody can
We
hear?
heard it. As the mayor, city, and the administration is not against the library getting that property. In fact, I grew up in the library. I can tell you every piece of property, every room in the library, from the stacks in the back to the door in the basement where the parking lot is, where the garage is, right? I grew up in the library. I can tell you, we used to play where the Great Reese Library is. There was a Buckeye tree right there. We used to play football. So look, I've used the library. I love the library. As y'all know, I got 2 masters. I love education. So I'm in the library, getting books, getting material, right? So we're in favor of the library. I love the fact that I heard RTA, library, city partnership. And I'm just throwing this out there.
Say that again?
RTA, library, city partnership. What if we all got together, right? And we created something. Now I know we can't create what they did on, what's that, 118th and Euclid? See how beautiful that is? They moved the RTA, they moved the rail stop over to Mayfield, created all this housing, right? Sometimes I take the rapid to the airport, I see people getting on there with their luggage, right? Same thing I am. So that is a scenario that worked. Of course, those are market rate houses, but what if we could do that? If we could bring the RTA, bring the library in the city, right? I can see something when you got houses in the back and then a parking lot that's shared.
How do you feel about that,
With the
Mr.
RTA
Rashid?
development and the library.
Okay, hold on one second, Mayor. How do you feel about that?
Let's get
That was
what they
the-
want first.
that was the indication that was given to me by Mr. Ruslow, because he clearly explained to me that they're on the east side of the street, we're on the west side of the street. And that parking lot, you know, I think that that's what he was alluding to, but he definitely wanted to work with us in the development process. And but this conversation made it very clear that at this particular time, they don't have any plans going on. But, you know, as they go forward, he wanted us to stay in touch with him as we go forward. So that collaboration is already there. Because I mean, after talking with him today and some higher ups in RTA, which made this meeting possible, I know that there are people at RTA, one of the highest people in RTA, grew up here in East Cleveland. And he was the one that facilitated the meeting so quickly between us and Mr. Russell.
We don't say.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me ask, let me ask the council, how do you guys feel about RTA, City of East Cleveland, and what was the other one?
Library.
The library. We're having a special meeting with them there. How do you feel about that, Mr. Lovett?
I just don't want to get the process.
Okay, hold on, let me hear from her. All right,
Focus on what we doing first.
Okay, no, I'm trying
We had the
to,
meeting afterwards.
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
Y'all
so go ahead, Mr. Lovett.
I think that if the library would like to meet with the RTA, I think that's perfectly wonderful. I
Okay,
don't need, and I don't think this council needs, any further meetings to ascertain that this land belongs to the library. If you put it in front of me as the legislation that I had read, and the legislation looked all fine, I would be ready to vote for it the minute that I saw it. I don't need another meeting.
well, I think the purpose of the meeting was the three entities come together and see if we can use all those resources to do something. But
The library
if
can do
either you
that.
do or you
One
don't.
thing at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're gonna do one thing at a time. They came here first, we're gonna handle this first, and then we move on to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sit down, let me finish. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Try to wrap this up.
Go ahead.
So, again, I'm in support of the growth, the future of the library,
Okay,
right? I love the idea of the public-private, private-private partnerships
mm-hmm,
to make this work. One of the reasons that my administration created the easement, right, is to allow agencies and nonprofits to have something that say that they are in control of this land and then to go seek funding. Because some people claim they need control of the land to seek funding. So we create easements for that to happen, right? Now this, I want to go through this.
mm-hmm.
This is not, please don't take this personally, but I want to go through this right quick.
Go ahead, go ahead. You got yours is the last comment tonight.
Just to
Go ahead.
illustrate the dangers of giving away property. When I was in grad school in 06, guy came in laughing and was mad about this first picture. You all have your pictures?
Wait a minute. Let me get it.
And so what about it?
I'm gonna get to it. Give me 1
Wait a
second.
minute.
Please look at your pictures.
This one?
Yeah, it's just a play along,
All right.
right? Does anybody recognize this? Anybody can tell me where this is at? Can anybody tell me where that's at? Huh? Can anybody, it's not irrelevant. Can anyone tell me where that's at? Right?
It's irrelevant to us.
It's not irrelevant, very relevant. If you look at the next picture, which is this one,
Uh-huh.
it is the same parcel,
Okay.
right? Let me tell you what you're looking at, right? And I printed it out just so that we're all aware. This family has owned this piece of property
Down by Cleveland Clinic.
since like 1985.
It's Cleveland by Burger King.
It is by Cleveland Clinic. If you ever drive by and you see this square patch of land that's tall like this is somebody who got a piece of property in the middle of Cleveland Clinic development, has got enough financial means to keep fighting it, right? That is why we got this land. That is why we have to be careful, because this could happen
and I'm not saying, please don't take this like I'm saying it, but I'm trying to give an education because everybody's not coming wanting land out of the land bank of City East Cleveland. If we give it away and somebody starts and holds it, they said it was worth $1, they offered them $1, they didn't want to give it to them, they want $2. Next year they offered them $3, they wanted $5, so on and so forth. And it's still undeveloped in the middle of Cleveland Clinic property. This goes back to '85. That's how long they had this.
That's why we need to
It's a
give it
piece
to the
of land,
library.
Right? So if we create easements
All right,
and you needed control of the property to do whatever you want to do with it, an easement will allow you to do that without holding up future development. And that's the only reason I sent that to you.
okay. All right, we've had a long discussion. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. We are gonna go through the neighborhood project. We don't, the council doesn't have to acknowledge or recognize if they don't want to, but we're gonna go through the process. They're gonna get a shot at it. We're gonna vote on this thing within the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably within a month, I think to be fair.
Okay.
So, I wanna thank everybody for being patient with us. This is how government works. Brother Rashid, thank you. Thank the library board of trustees. We're gonna work it out. Okay. We're gonna work it out. Okay. I accept the motion to adjourn.
So,
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, the public.
I'm